I'm going to share my testimony a little bit. There's so many things that I could tell you that God's done in my life, and I cannot pick one story in particular, so I'm just going to start from the beginning. And I'm going to try to make it without crying completely, because when I cry, you can't understand me. I'm a really bad crier, so, okay. So, to begin, I'm not from here, most of you know. Thank you. I was looking for those earlier. I grew up in Texas till I was 12, and then we moved around some, and then eventually I come here. But I did not grow up in church. I kind of did. My mom was the type of mom that just took me and my sisters sometimes. I can remember as a young kid being in a church play once. I remember I was a sheep and I was about 6 years old, but that's all I remember. When we moved from Texas to Arizona, me and my mom went to church by ourselves, and I do not remember the name of the church. I don't even remember the people there, but I was about 12 years old, and I remember that I felt something at church, and that I come to the altar, and then a few weeks later, I was baptized. After that, we did not go back. So, and that was about my church life as a kid. Of course, I lived a terrible, sinful life as a teenager and as a young adult. Eventually, I moved to Section and met Chris, and we were both pretty bad and deep into sin. Then we later got married and had Carson, and shortly after, we started coming to Corinth. We visited a few churches. We said we was going to, but we come to Corinth some, and then we went to another church, and then we ended up coming back. We come here for about a year, and I remember asking Chris, I was like, what are we doing? Are we going to, I feel like we're involved. What's going on? And so shortly after, he was saved, and shortly after that, we just both committed ourselves to the Lord, and I was rebaptized with him. And then since then, so much has changed. I change every day. God teaches me something new every single day. But shortly after that, Carson was he was 1 when we were both baptized together. And then there's just so many stories and ways that God has worked in both of our lives. But one in particular that we have been through together that I know I could not have gone through without God and his love was losing his mother, Chris's mom. And we had 2 young kids that we had to be strong for them. And that was probably the hardest thing as an adult and married woman and mother that I've went through. But since then, we have grown so much. And today I was just thinking of all the things. Well, I told Chris just a few days ago, I was like, do you realize what all has happened to us in a year? So much has happened to us in our marriage and as parents, and it's just overwhelming to think what all God has done in our lives. But, and another story that I can remember, or a lesson that I've learned is it's always his plan, not our plan. We never, ever planned on having 3 children. I can remember telling him I was pregnant, and he's like, how did that happen? And I can remember us laughing. Like at that time, we were planning on, we were thinking about putting in a swimming pool, and he's like, there goes the swimming pool. We have 3 coming. So, and now without Benson being as rambunctious as he is, I couldn't imagine our lives without him. But it's just so many things that he's done for us, and so overwhelming to think of just where we have come from and where we are, and all the lessons we've learned along the way. Like I said, I'm learning something new every day. I just feel like that, just so overwhelmed by what God has done for us and what he continues to do in our lives. And I guess that's about it. Thank you.